Welcome, everybody, to another CTC software webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about Clash Seeker, which is part of our CIM Project Suite of tools. As always, this webinar will be recorded to our YouTube channel for you to view later, and also share with any of your coworkers. And if you have any questions while we go along here, feel free to put them into the questions panel, and we'll save time after the webinar to get to those. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section, and we will get back to you on those as well. And as always, we encourage you to sign up for our future events so we don't miss any of these future webinars. With that, my name is Tony Crick. I'm the CTC Civil Product Manager here at CTC. So with that, let's get started. Clash Seeker was created to help find those crossings, clashes, things that can cause trouble when we get to the field before they get there. So during our design process, we can do that and identify some of those instances where there's some conflicts exist, which really helps with our overall design. As I mentioned, it is part of our CIM Project Suite of tools, and those tools are intended for the everyday Civil 3D user creating design and production drawings. We are currently at version 26.1, which will work in the last 4 versions back of Civil 3D. So with this one, back to version 2022. Today we're going to show you how we can identify the clashes in Civil 3D, and it can also work in our AutoCAD drawings as well. So we use AutoCAD objects such as lines, blocks, that kind of thing. We'll show you that. We can customize our clash detection rules for project needs. We can filter and prioritize those relevant drawing conflicts, and that should improve the coordination and reduce any design reworks. So why Clash Seeker? It's more robust than the native tools in that we can compare more things. So not just Civil 3D objects, but also AutoCAD things. And it uses our comfortable, familiar interface that's similar to all of our other tools. So if you use our tools, you'll be very familiar with it. If you haven't used it, you'll have no problems opening it and finding your way around. And it is very intuitive, so there's virtually no learning curve involved there. We can find and compare most objects against each other, which will then identify potential issues during the design phase. And we can find those once we run our report, our clash report. We can zoom to find those. We'll show you some of that here in a minute to easily find them. And from that, it will generate a report that we can review, and we can export those reports to Excel spreadsheets as well. If you have a design engineer who wants to review those ahead of time, or if you need a report, and then you can save your settings as templates to do redundant reports. So if you're always checking storm sewers and sanitaries, let's just say, you can save that out as a template and just bring it in. We can also set points at the clash locations, choosing from the relevant information we would like to display. And it uses the point styles to drop those in that are already in your drawing. That will help us to track the clashes and then we can ensure that they're up to date. So with that, let's jump into the live demo. All right, let's start with this drawing here. So in this one, we have a couple of pipe networks here. We have a sanitary and a storm, and something such as this, we have a crossing. So to know if it's clear of it or not, you can always pick it and use your object viewer to see what's happening there. But we can also have Clash Seeker do that. So let's open Clash Seeker and show you what it looks like. So it consists of the basic Clash Seeker, and then we can update our points and update our tables. We will do the points. We'll show you what that looks like in a bit here. So once we open it, it's going to look like this on your screen. Okay. So we can size it to make it look however we want, and it will open like that. First thing you're going to want to do is check your options. So our general tab here, this selection will always drop it here at the size we just stretched it to. Then the report precisions can be set here. How do you want those to be reported in your table? How do we want our decimal character to be set, comma, period, the grouping, and then grouping symbols. And then the template path. So you'll want to set this if you're saving templates somewhere. You will probably want to put these on a network drive or somewhere else where people can share them. So if you did it once and you needed to do it again, or someone else did, someone could just go grab that and bring it in by using the opening tab right here, folder. Then our export settings. What do we want to export? And these can be changed when we actually do it, which I'll show you. So this is just your default settings here. So this one is including this. If you open here, this will set what it's going to be. So if I start turning these off and say, okay, they drop from the list. So if I only wanted name, the Clash set name, and the sources to be my default, that's what I would do. Most likely you probably want the type. That's going to tell us the proximity or hard. And then the distance is going to show us how far apart they are. And then the status will tell us what's happening over here. Then to set a table style, these come right from your Civil 3D, whatever table styles you have in your drawing. I'm going to leave that at standard. Then we can also add some capitalization here if we want to. And then give it a title. So this is fully editable, customizable to whatever you want. In fact, I'll call this Clash Tables Table. And then our Kogel points. So these are the points that drop into any clashes that we may see over here. And the object style, this can come from any of those that you have in your drawing. I'll set this one to basic. And our label style, again, whatever point label styles we have to select from here. I'm going to just set it at description only because that works well with this information here. And then again, we can do some capitalization and what layer do we want those to go on. So if I'm working on it, I'm going to put it on my working layer for now. And then how do we want them orientated? I'm going to put them to view. And then units as a suffix or prefix with field names. So a number of different options to select from there. Moving on over here, this is where we add a Clash set. I'll show you that in a second. If we want to delete one, we delete it here. If we want to save one as a template, we click that and it will go to that default location we set in our options, and at any time we can reorder these. So let's create a clash. Let's see what we have out there. So I can rename my clash set. I'm going to call this sanitary to storm. Oh, capitalize that. Call it sanitary to storm. So I want to compare my sanitary line to my storm line and see what we have. So I come down here and I'll set this to my pipe networks. So you can see all the different options we have to choose from. Now some of these can't be compared to each other, such as feature lines to solids. So not everything is available all the time, but once you select one of these, the next source will determine what can be compared. So if I come over here, you see how that list has changed a bit. If I put that back to none, we see the same settings here. And then if I open this back up, we'll see, again, the limitations that are there. So pipe networks and pressure networks, if we had a pressure network to compare it to, I'm going to use simply gravity networks here. So now as with all our tools, this is our filter component box that will let us filter by components. So if I just wanted to check this pipe to that pipe, I sure could. And by doing that, I would just grab these two. So I'll just grab that one because that's my sanitary. And then in this one, I will grab my storm right there. And then here's our settings. Here's how we set what we want to compare. So am I going to include proximity clashes? I'm not going to in this case. I just want to see if they hit, if they flat out hit. So if I say OK and I hit the run button, it says it's preparing down here. So it's comparing those two parts to each other. And in a second here, it will be done and it will tell us it's ready. So that means we didn't have a clash there. But how close are they to each other? If I had a buffer, say they couldn't be any closer than 4 feet. If I say OK and I run it again, right away we see it found one. So we know that at some point it's 2.49 feet. Where is that 2.49 feet? Well, it's right where they cross, in this case, right there. Okay, so I can also change this to do the entire network. So I'm going to do the entire network this time. So I'm just going to open this back up. I'm going to clear that. And I'm going to go grab the network. So again, I'm doing sanitary. Do my storm. I don't know if you saw that. It said 15 items right there. So there's 15 parts of that sanitary system that it's going to find. I'll clear this one. I'll do the same thing. I'll grab that. And I'll say OK. And now let's just say we wanted to find only the hard clashes here. So I'm going to just rename this to hard. And then I'm going to set take my buffer off. So that's just telling me that it's going to reset because I changed the definitions here. It's going to reset it. If you didn't want to do that, you would create another one. So if I click that off right there and I tell it to run, it's going to run 15 sanitary against 13 storm. And again, it's only looking for the hard clashes, of which we have one. So, but where is it? So if I hit my magnifier glass right here, I see it is right here somewhere where they cross. And to find out exactly, I can set a point there. So we set that in our default settings. So this is what we're going to get right out of the chute. So it's type, that's going to be a hard. It's going to tell me which one is against which one. So that's here. Pipe 28 to pipe 1. And everything's the same, so I'm just going to let it put it in there, and it goes in. So I'm going to close this and then zoom out on this and show you what we have. So the name is Clash 1. That's coming from our table set over there. I'll show you that again in a second. And then the set name is Sanitary Storm Hard. So I'm comparing those, and what's the hard clash? Pipe 28. Pipe 1, there's pipe 1. The sanitary is pipe 8. And then 0, I have mine set to 8 just for demonstration purposes to show you how close it can, or how tight it can get. And then the status here is, it says it's new. So if I open Clash Seeker up again, and I highlight it, we come here. So I can rename this clash if I want to, if I wanted to call that hard. Again, I'm just going to call it a hard clash. Whoops. So I can rename these as well. So these are not nameable. It's just going to be the same thing. I'll call that hard 1 just in case. So hard 1, and then if I come in here and I check my status on it. So it's new at this point, but we know we need to resolve that. So I'm going to hit active right there, and then I'm going to close this. And now if I had several of those, I could update them all right here so that anybody else who needs to work on that, if you're reviewing these and you're checking, someone else could come back in here and see, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Could see which ones they need to work on. So I hit the pull down here, and I'll hit update clash points. And it's going to ask me to select my point. And then I'm going to say OK. If I had several, it would make me pick those individually. I didn't. But now we see it's active right there, and we changed the name to hard 1. Okay, so that's what it does. And then the distance, of course, is hard between them. If we look at those, we will in fact see, and the point's going to go right at it as well. So if I look at those in my object viewer, we'll see all of that. Let me bring that over here. Whoops. Let's look at that again. So there we see it's definitely going through there. No doubt about that one. Okay, so what are some other things we can compare? So if I had a gas line, let's just use that as a scenario, and it was brought in as a feature line or a survey figure line from the field, and we needed to check the depth on that, I can check that depth to the surface. Let's get back into Clash Seeker. And let's run one of those. So I'll just add another one. And let's call it, I'll just call it gas check. And then we want to compare the feature line. There was a survey figure, I could pick that too. In this case, it's a feature line. And then just go grab it. And I can do this again, any one of these ways by layer. If I had a whole bunch of them, I would want to do that. I'll go by layer. I'll say okay. And then I'm going to compare it to the surface. Some of these will take a little bit longer, especially when you're doing solids, so surfaces or any other solid. And then we can select from the pull down of any surfaces that are in this drawing. When I'm comparing to a surface like that, I can look to see, does it go above the surface or below the surface? I'll tell it to look, because I need to be, let's say I need to be no shallower than 5 feet below, but we also want to see if it actually is above the surface in this case. So I'm going to set both of these at 5, and I'll just hit run. So now it's a short line, and it crosses only just our surface right there. But it found too that it's 3.38. Now, if we thought 3 was good enough, we could mark those as resolved. But we want to see where that's happening. So I'm going to drop a couple of points on there. And we see that it's happening right under the roadbed right there. So that's probably okay. 3 feet down seems like enough clearance. So let's call those approved. So I'll call those approved. I'm going to rename these to, I'll just call it checked. Checked 1. Let's call this one check 2. And close it. And then we'll update those again. So now in this case, I have more than one point that I found one clash. So it's going to tell me to ask for these points. And there they both went to approved. Check 1, check 2. So just some different ways we can do that. Let's do one more thing. Let's do a full network check with all clearances. So let me open it back up. So I'm going to basically do a copy of this one. But in this case, it's just going to be a straight up check. So sanitary to storm. Call it all. We'll grab the whole pipe network this time. Say okay. Grab the next one. Storm. Grab that. And now let's set the buffer to include proximity clashes. So we're checking everywhere that this happens. And I'm going to just say within 5 feet. Now this one will take just a little bit longer because it's comparing all the solids. But so we found this one here, clash 1, then 2, it's still running. And then we got our 0 clash, our hard clash, which we already knew about. Now it's ready. So it found 2 places. So we know where that one is. Let's look where this one is. Again, it's that one. And we can send that out to a report now. From here, I can report that out. Oops, that's my table within my drawing. Hang on a second. I want to send this out to Excel report. Again, I'm going to include everything. I'm going to say OK. I'll just grab this demo table 1. And it opens it up and we get the full report here. So then someone else can review it if they want to. They would say maybe this one's okay. They can mark this status here and then give that back to you. And then 2, and if we want to do it in a table, it's the same thing. We're just going to pick this and it's going to go there. So let's look at a couple other things here, a couple more features I just want to highlight for you. I'm going to close this and let's change drawings. Let's go to this drawing here. Okay, if we wanted to see any of these trees, let's just say the trees, and we'll look for any tree that's within, I don't know, of the center line or any of these other alignments here, maybe like 25 feet. We can find out where they're at. So this will be our blocks that we were talking about before, comparing to the alignment. I can't really see that very well. So I'm going to add this, start with 1. We'll say any of those need to be removed. So remove tree, we'll do it. Source 1 will make the alignment. I'm going to grab it here. Do it again either way. So that's the alignment. And I want to compare it to these trees. So in this case, they're blocks. They came in as blocks from the survey. So I can start to grab these. Oops, I want to do these by object name. So I'm going to grab that one. And let's grab, see if there's any of these that are within range. So deciduous trees and coniferous trees. Say OK. I'm going to set my buffer again. So I'm going to ignore the Z value in this case because I don't care where they are vertically, only horizontally. And I'm going to look for any of them that are within 25, actually, let's make it 33 feet of, let's just say, of the alignment line. And it's always going to look left and right. And solids, it's going to look all around. So anytime you pick something, it's looking all around it. As in the pipe networks, it wasn't just looking from top to bottom, it was looking all around. So apparently it found none from there. Let's say 50. Run it again. Ooh, now we got a bunch. Okay. So we have a bunch of them here. And I really wanted to do this to show you another feature here. If you want to sort those. So if I open this and I say add a level, and I'm going to sort by let's say type, and the order A to Z, I'm going to do distance. Let's look by distance. So I'm going to look for any that are in distance of the distance, and I'm going to go from the shortest to the largest. So I want to see which ones are closest. So if I hit that, I can say OK here, and now it's sorted these out. So now I can more easily go through these, and I can say that a bunch of these are probably OK. So I can start approving these. And I'm going to close it. So now if I open it back up, it's going to show me which of those are approved and which of those may still need some review. You see those went to approved, and I know I'm good to go. So that's Clash Seeker. I don't really have anything else to show today, so let's jump back to the PowerPoint. As I said, it's part of our CIM Project Suite of tools, currently on version 26.1. We also have our Manager suite of tools intended more for CAD managers or those supporting a production team. And if you don't have it, you would like to get it, you can contact us here at ctcsoftware.com. And as always, if you have any ideas or need any help, please contact our support. Our tools are built from suggestions by you, for you, to make your everyday life easier. So with that, thank you once again for joining us today. And we hope to see you at the next webinar.